Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite translated pieces of literature. So translated books are some of my favorite books to read just because I like getting a more well-rounded worldview on certain topics. I think seeing things from other perspectives outside of just the Western view is really healthy and should be encouraged, and so I want to encourage all of you to do the same. I think it gives you, again, a more well-rounded perspective on things, and it can make you a better person seeing the way other people view things that aren't just in America. So yeah, I'm really excited to share all these books with you today. I hope you enjoy the video, and let's get into it. So the first book I want to talk about today is one of my all-time favorites. I've read it I think 3 times now, and I just love going back to it. It really sets a certain mood and I just love it, and that is The Iliac Crest by Cristina Rivera Garza, translated by Sarah Booker. And I think Sarah Booker has also translated another book I have here, or just a couple other books I've read. I think I'm thinking of a different book that's not on this list, but anyway, this is translated from the original Spanish into English, and this in particular is very interesting to read having been translated, because this book is about gender and how we see gender and how it kind of is really a spectrum but also not real. So we have our main character, and he is living alone. He's unnamed, we don't have his name, but on a very dark and moody night, 2 women come to visit him, and they are harassing him, and they claim to know his biggest secret, that he is actually a woman. And it's a very short book, so you can get through it super fast, but it packs a punch, and it really makes you think about gender and how we've constructed this ideology and how language changes everything. So that's why this one in particular is interesting to read, it having been translated, because there's an emphasis on like language and different like specifically your own language, and then how things can change in different languages, if that makes sense. It's all very interesting. Love this book so much. If you're gonna pick up any of these books, I would recommend this one. So that's why I wanted to put it first. And yeah, if you're gonna read any of these, pick this one up. It's great, super short, super easy to read, and I just love it. Next, we're gonna go with this one. This is a little sci-fi moment, and that is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This is translated, I don't know who, by Roz Schwartz, from French. And this is a little sci-fi moment that is following a group of women who, it's implied like the apocalypse kind of happened, or like something has happened. We don't really know what, but all of these women are living, I think there's like 30 of them, living in this like dungeon underground, and it's just women, and they've never seen another man except for the guards that guard their giant cell. And most of them have grown up in this cell. They have never known anything else. They don't know anything of the outside world, and this is their story. So this is good if you like sci-fi. If you're not into sci-fi, it's not super heavy. It's just very like, it's more of like a futuristic kind of thing. It's not super hard to get into or super hard to understand. It's very simple and it's easy to follow, but I think it has a lot to say on society at large and feminism, obviously, in general. I mean, the book is called I Who Have Never Known Men. So it just has a lot to say on that. I think it's a very important book, and again, having been translated from French, I think it's interesting to see another side of feminism that isn't Americanized, and while it is still like a European white version of feminism, it is still from a different country. So it's just, I just like seeing all sides of the cube, you know? Like, we're on one side, this is just another side of that cube. So I don't know if that made any sense, but I'm seeing it in my head. Highly recommend this one. Again, fantastic, great feminism piece. Also very, very short. And it's also like it'll keep you on the edge of your toes. You can probably read this in a day because you just won't want to put it down. You're just so curious as to what comes next. Okay, so next, I can't wait any longer. I have to talk about one of my favorite books of all time. And this is like a personal niche interest of mine. So this is not a book for everybody. Just a warning there. And that is Perfume by Patrick Suskind. This is translated from German by, this version at least was translated by John E. Woods. So this is a horror book, but I think this one's fairly popular as far as I know. Like, this is a fairly popular story, and I think there is a movie. Don't quote me on that. But this is, as the subtitle would say, the story of a murderer. And we have our main character who is obsessed with scent, and he grows up obsessed with scent. So he doesn't have a scent, this man. He gives off no scent, but he has an incredible sense of smell. So he's obsessed with smell. And so he works as a perfume maker, and then gradually we tumble down the hill from there. He becomes obsessed with this woman and her smell, and I think you're kind of seeing where this is going. This was such a horrific book and so terrifying, but I really liked the perfume aspect of this. Like, I liked learning about how perfumes were made and like the scents and that kind of sciencey bit of it. It went into that a lot more than I thought it would, and I really liked that. But it's also just very creepy, and yeah, so if you're not really into horror, then obviously I wouldn't recommend this, but I think this is a great book for fans of horror and murderers, and kind of how that psychological thing might work with serial killers. So very interesting, and one of my favorite books in general, let alone one of my favorite translated books. So yeah. Okay, next I just want to talk quickly about this one because it is one of my favorite books, but it's super common. And that is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This was originally published in Russian, obviously, and I just really like this book. I read this earlier this year, and I really fell in love with the story, and I became obsessed with it. And I also became obsessed with the movie with, of course I can't think of her name now. But anyway, I just love this story. If you don't know what Anna Karenina is about, if you're living under a rock, it is about a woman, a married woman who has an affair. Things go horribly wrong. And then at the same time, there's this guy who is giving us 300 pages explanation of Russian agriculture. That I did not love, but putting that aside, love this book so much. It's really long, but it's one of those books where you finish it and not only do you think, huh, I really liked that, but you're also like, dang, I really finished that. Like, this was an 800 page book. 800? Okay, 750. No, 800 pages. And I just felt really proud of myself to read 800 pages of translated Russian literature. That's all I'll say. This was the biggest accomplishment of my life. Put it on my resume, and also it was fantastic. So just a brief little interlude about that one because I had to include it. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Paradise Rot by Jenny Hval. This is translated from Norwegian into English, obviously, and I don't think there is a translator on this one. Translated by Marjam Idris. I will let you see the name there. Maybe. There you go. So that's the name. This is another horror book, and this is a very weird horror book. This I would not recommend to most people, let alone a lot of people. This is a very, again, niche, a niche favorite of mine. and it's just very odd and strange. It's about this girl who moves to a new country for school, and she moves in with this girl into this abandoned warehouse, and things start getting weird, but like she's just kind of like accepting of it. Like, it's weird for us, we're like, what the hell's going on? She's just kind of going along with it. It has like obviously a very fungusy vibe to it. It's, you know, paradise rot. We're talking everything's rotting, she's rotting, things are weird. And if you like weird, strange books, I would recommend this one. If you don't, probably don't pick this up. You're gonna be freaked out by it. It's not gonna make sense. But the girls that get it, you know. I really like this one. Again, it's very short, and in this specific edition, the words are fairly big, so you can probably finish this one in a day too. But if you're looking for a creepy, gothic vibe, this is a very good one. And Norwegian. Interesting. You know, you don't think about Norway very often, but when you're reading Paradise Rot, you do. Next, we have, I think this one's kind of picking up traction, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko. This is translated from Russian into English, believe it or not, by Julia Maitov Hersey. This is a fantasy novel, kind of. This is a crackhead's dream of a novel. A smart crackhead. Like, if a crackhead went to Harvard, like if a regular person went to Harvard and then started doing crack and shrooms at the same time, they'd love this. This is like a dark academia. How do I explain this book? So we have our main character who is, it's been a minute since I read this book, so bear with me. So we have this girl, she's at the beach on vacation, and she meets this mysterious man, and she finds herself powerless to refuse when this man directs her to perform a task with potentially scandalous consequences. And when she does it, he rewards her with a strange golden coin. So this continues. She does more of these weird requests for more of these coins, which aren't like, it's not like currency, it's not like dollar bills, it's like, where am I gonna spend these? You know, who's gonna accept these as money? So after this happens, the summer's over, and this guy tells her to use this gold to enter this school in a remote village. It's called the Institute of Special Technologies, and she has a lot of trouble here. So the books are impossible to read, the lessons are obscure to the point of maddening, and the work refuses memorization. Using terror and coercion, the school does not punish students directly for their failures. Instead, their families pay a terrible price. Yet, despite her fear, Sasha undergoes changes that defy the dictates of matter and time. Yeah. This is insane. And I don't know if the second book has been translated yet into English. The second book is out, but I don't know if it's been translated yet into English, but I need it now because, like, this book was insane and I need it again. I want to reread it, and then I want more, because I genuinely don't think I can convey to you just how strange this was and how you're just never going to see it coming. You're never going to see it coming, and you're just going to be stuck there at the end thinking, what the fuck was that? You know? So, highly recommend. If you like dark academia, if you like a good fantasy vibe, then this one is for you, but enter at your own risk. Okay, the second to last book I'm going to talk about, the last physical book I have, is The Blind Owl, which is another strange one. This is by Sadegh Hidayat, translated from Farsi into English by Naveed Nouri. So this is another short one, and this has a lot of lore behind it. So this was originally published in Iran, and it was banned, like, immediately. They were like, no, 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 you're not doing that. But eventually, obviously, you know, it became kind of it gained notoriety in being banned, and it was said to have a curse upon it where anyone who read it would kill themselves afterwards. So of course I had to read it and find out what the whole hubbub was about. And yes, people were being a little dramatic in like the whole, oh, you're gonna kill yourself after you read it, but it is very depressing and existential and weird. I don't really know how to explain this one. I recommend it for people who are into weird books and who don't mind if a book doesn't really make sense, because this one doesn't really make sense, but it makes sense. And I liked it, but I also didn't like it because it was confusing, but I liked it. I don't know. So in this book we have our main character, who is again unnamed, which is a common theme here I'm seeing, and he has just gone through the loss of essentially like a girlfriend, maybe a lover, and he is confessing his sins to this owl on the, or this shadow on the wall that looks like an owl. And obviously it's very interesting because, you know, in English, see, I'm getting all giddy about it. In English, an owl represents like wisdom and knowledge, and so you can see it from that light, but also in Iran and in the Middle East, it's seen as a like warning of death. So it's very like, that whole parallel is super interesting to me, where like you can see it this way, but in English you can see it another way. I just love that. I love language and the way we see things. It's just very interesting to me. So he's telling his story to this shadow on the wall, and the story makes not really, I mean, it's not that it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't follow one timeline, and it kind of jumps around and comes back, and it seems to overlap, and things kind of start getting repetitive. Very strange book, but it's so depressing, and I can see why it was banned and why people would say that there's a curse on it, because it does feel like I'm cursed after reading this, and I read it twice, so, and I'm still here, so I'm good. We're all good. Anyway, very strange book, but if you're into stuff like that, like if you liked House of Leaves, it definitely kind of like has that like writing style in a way where nothing really makes sense. We're not on a linear timeline. It's very odd. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. So the final book I have to talk about is The Wall, and this is by Marlene Hoschfer, and this is translated from German. I don't know by who, because the version I read was from the library. I don't have it anymore, but anyway, translated from German. So this is about our main character, who is a middle-aged woman who wakes up one day to find herself seemingly the last person alive on Earth, and she is living in this dome, maybe? There is, essentially, she goes off to try to find people, and there is a wall, an invisible wall in the woods that that she can't pass, and she's left alone with her dog and a cow, and it just kind of details her surviving over the years and her life after the world has ended. I really love this book. Again, very depressing, but also kind of hopeful in a way. I don't know what particularly it was about this book that really kind of made me almost emotional with her relationship towards like the animals, where they became her whole life, you know, like those are her friends, and her trying to take care of herself and take care of these animals, and she manages to get by, not get by, but thrive to a degree. And it's just very, very interesting. If you're into like dystopian books, this is a dystopian book, but it's not like your typical like death, destruction and all that. It's very quiet, and it's just, I don't know, just very, very good. And that is going to do it for my list today. Those are all the books I have to talk about. Maybe you've read some of them, and if you have, feel free to leave your thoughts down below. If you haven't, maybe check some of them out. Let me know your favorite translated books, because I am always dying to get some more recommendations. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.